guys! So it's almost the end of 2018 and I thought that it would be a good time to show you all of the planners that I've used consistently throughout the whole year and talk about the reasons why I think they worked for me. So I've got 4 planners here and I'll start with this one, which is my Hobonichi A5 5-year techo. So I've been using this for almost a year now. It runs from the 1st of January until the 31st of December. And I bought this last year when the 5-year techos first were introduced by Hobonichi. So this is the A6 version, which was the only one that they had at the time. This year they've also got an A5 version, which I have bought for 2019, and I'll be using that for something else, which I'll show you in my next video. But I've been using this for a year, and I absolutely love it, and I wanted to explain the reasons why I think that it has worked so well. Because when this was first introduced, I, along with a lot of other planner addicts, regarded it in equal parts fascination and trepidation, I think. Because for a planner addict who likes changing up their planners, the idea of keeping with a single book for not just 1 year, but 5 years can be quite daunting and even a bit terrifying, but there's also something so tempting about the idea. So I thought about what I was going to use it for before I bought it, and then I really decided that I wanted to make it work. And I was worried that it might be a bit difficult to keep it going, but in fact it hasn't been difficult at all. So I'll just explain the reasons for that now. So first of all, just mention that I have this in the Bloom cover, which is part of a gift set that Hobonichi brought out in September, and I'll leave that link down below. It's a fantastic cover. I absolutely love it, and it was really, really worth the money. And I keep it very plain. I don't have any decoration in it at all. It's just paper and pen. And I use this for a combination gratitude log and highlights of my day basic memory keeping sort of book. So I'll just show you what that looks like in a minute. So first of all, I don't use these yearly spreads for anything. They give you a yearly calendar for each of the 5 years that the techo goes for. So this is 2018 to 2022. Almost through the first year, it occurred to me that I could use this to mark the days when I changed the ink in my fountain pen. But because it was already so far into the year, I thought I didn't want to start doing it now and have the first year blank. So then you've got this 5-yearly spread where you have a single date on the left-hand page, and then you've got the 5 years of that date, and then you have a blank page on the right. And when I got this, I decided that I would use it for gratitude logs on the right, and I would write 5 things that I'm grateful for every day, and that way there would be enough room for the 5 years. And then on the left, I would write down about 6 highlights of my day. So 1 highlight per line usually. And I would just pick the most memorable or nicest or funniest things that happened throughout the day, whether they were big or small. So the reason that I felt confident that this would work was because I had been keeping a gratitude log like this for several years in the past, probably since around 2009 or 2010. And so I had the feeling that this wouldn't be difficult to incorporate into my daily routine because I was already doing it anyway. And if it's just a list like this without explanations or any prose really, it only takes you, I don't know, 30 seconds to do. And it's just a nice way to finish the day. I always do this at the end of the day. So that I was kind of certain I would be able to make work because it wasn't really new. It was just that I had always in the past kept them in a notebook or a pocket Moleskine, which I would then recycle at the end of the year. And so I thought it would actually be nice to have a record of this, because if you're going to use it for 5 years, then you have something to look back on, and it would be interesting to see the things that I was enjoying and grateful for at the same time, years in the past, instead of getting rid of them. And this left-hand spread where I wrote down the highlights of the day, this was a new thing. I had not done this before in a planner, but I had done it orally. So for quite a while, probably since around the same time that I started keeping the gratitude log, I had a stone that James gave me, and the idea is that you keep the stone by your bed and you take it and hold it in your hand, and as the last thing that you do at night before you go to sleep, You go through your day mentally thinking of all of the nice things that happen, and then you pick out the best one. So I was kind of doing this because if you sort of try to pick the nicest thing that happened to you, then you naturally go through a list of all the nice things that happened during the day, that would be candidates. So I thought, okay, if I just write that down instead, then I'll have this nice little nighttime ritual. And that is actually how it has worked. So basically I do this, kind of last thing at night. And it's really quick. It takes only a couple of minutes, but it's just a nice way to end the day. And I think that because this A6 is quite small and you've really only got a very restricted amount of space per day, it's not at all overwhelming. So if you feel the burden of like, oh my God, I have to write in this book every day for the whole year, and then I have to do it again for another 4 years, how can I possibly keep that up? If you do it in a way where you're just recording minimal amounts of information, it's really not overwhelming at all, and it's very easy to do, and it becomes a nice thing to look forward to at the end of the day. So when I started the year, I was a bit concerned that it would be difficult to keep up with and that I would miss days, but actually I haven't missed a single day. There have been a couple of days where I was so tired when, let's say I got home late for some reason and I was just really tired and I couldn't face doing it. I went straight to bed. I would always do it the first thing the next morning. And because it only takes a couple of minutes, it's really not a major thing. It's not like missing a day of journaling where you have to fill the whole page and, then it can be difficult to go back to it. So every single day in this planner is filled up until the current day. So this is today. I've only got a few days left, and then I will be starting back over at the beginning. So I think that that's why it has worked in this way, because I'm using it in such a minimal sort of way, and because it's quite small and compact, and it's also easy to take with me. So if I go on a trip, I don't have to worry about having to bring this with me. It's very easy just to add it in, with the rest of my planners that I take with me wherever I go. But basically, it's very easy to incorporate this into your daily life. So if you've been on the fence about this and you're thinking that it would be difficult to commit to, I feel like it actually isn't. And in fact, the 5-year setup, I feel, makes it even easier to commit to than if it were a 1-year setup, because part of the enjoyment of this planner is that I'll be able to go back, and on January 1st, 2019, I'll be starting over again and filling this in. And I've really been looking forward to this all year, because throughout the first year, I've just been writing in this and it's been the first entry on each page, right? There's nothing else here. But starting from 2019, everything I fill in, I'll be able to look up and compare it to what I was doing on the same day a year before. And I think that's really exciting and, a big part of the fun of this planner design. And then as it goes on, it will just get more and more exciting, because in 2020, I'll have 2 years to look back on, and then 3 years, and then 4 years to look back on. And I think that that is a sort of unique feature which really makes you want to commit to this planner, because the thought of coming back in a couple of years' time and seeing a blank page on one of these days would be sad, Then it's like you're leaving a present for your future self that you can then open when you come back to the same date. And so not having that would be so disappointing. And I think that has really motivated me to use it. Whereas if it were just a yearly planner that I was writing in, at the end of the year, okay, I'd get to the end and then I'd be like, okay, this is finished, and I would archive it. And then I'm not sure how often I would, go back to look at it, because since I've become a planner addict, I have taken to keeping my old planners, which I never used to do before, when I was just like buying a cheap, ugly planner from the local stationery shop. I would just recycle them at the end of the year. But now I keep them, and I do sometimes go back and reference them, particularly my work cousins. But if it's just a memory keeper or a gratitude log, I'm not actually sure that I would really reference it that often. And in fact, the ones that I've had up until I started using the 5-year techo, I haven't gone back and looked at again. So I think that having this format actually, it kind of gives you a double purpose. On the one hand, you're recording the information of the day. And on the other hand, you're giving yourself this nice surprise that you'll be able to look at every day over the coming year. So I think that's really cool. Another thing that I've done, which I think is kind of somehow contributing factor to why I've enjoyed using this, is that I've decided that even though I'm not decorating it, I'll use different colors of fountain pen ink throughout the year. So I've been using the same color for roughly 2 months, and then I switch over to a different color and use that for 2 months. And so you can see it goes through the rainbow, and I've ended up with purple. And then my plan is that when I go back, I'll and I start over again with the same date, I'll use the next color in the rainbow for these entries. So this is red, which means that in 2019 I'll be using orange. And then I'll kind of alternate. So it's like if the first year is in green, then this one will be blue. So that by the time I finish the 5 years, I'll have a nice rainbow. So it'll be red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and then it will kind of continue on over the course of the year. So it's just a nice little unassuming project which doesn't demand too much time, is very easy to complete, and yet leaves a very nice record that I will be able to enjoy as the years go on. So I think that that is why this has been so successful, and I'm really looking forward to continuing the adventure in 2019. So next up is my Hobonichi Weeks, which is my personal planner. Those of you who have been following my channel for a while won't be surprised to see this, because this is actually my 3rd weeks, and I've now started my 4th one for 2019. So the weeks is a planner that I really know works for me as a personal planner. Before I started the weeks in the end of 2015, I had experimented with a range of different personal planners, starting with a personal-sized ring-bound planner. Then I went to a pocket-sized Filofax. Then I tried a Moleskine. None of them seemed to work. Either they were too big, or they were too small, or I didn't really like the rings. And then when I switched over to this, I just felt like that was it. I had found the perfect personal planner, and I've continued with it. So I think that the reason why it works so well for me is because of the size and the layout. So if you're familiar with the Hobonichi Weeks, which most of you probably are, you know that you've got your yearly spread, and then you've got a month on 2 pages, and then you've got a weekly spread, and then you have note pages. So I think that the reason that this works is because basically for a personal planner, I want to be able to record everything in my life that's not work related. And so that means non-work to-dos, you know, just anything that I have to do, from shopping to stuff around the house, finding out cinema times, just, you know, anything that has to do with my life that's not to do with work. And so I put all of that in here. I don't put appointments in here because I put all of my appointments in my work planner, which I'll show you in a minute. And that's just because I like to have everything that's time bound in one place so that I know how I can plan my days basically and when I'll be free. But anything that's a to-do I like to have in here, because my work planner, I feel like if I had work and personal to-dos together, it would get too busy and I would feel overwhelmed. And I also like being able to open my work planner at work and know that there's only work stuff in it. So if someone sees it, they're not going to see, you know, what other stuff that I'm doing. So this is great because you've got your daily pages on the left, the weekly layout. So I can put anything that's time bound. So like, for example, I put in when a video might be going live if I've scheduled it ahead, or if we're going to the cinema, sometimes I'll put that in. So there's a little bit of overlap with the work planner, but not too much, because generally I keep anything that's actually an appointment or an event out of this one. But I can put in to-dos that I want to do on a particular day. And then on the right-hand side, I can just put in to-dos that aren't necessarily time-bound, but that I want to do sometime during the week. So I really like that layout because it seems to be a nice balance between things that you want to get done at a specific time or to remember at a specific time. Let's say change our water filters. That I'll put down 3 months, it's 6 months from when I put in the new charcoal filter. And so I'll say, okay, that's due on this date. But if I don't manage to do it, then I'll just bump it. But then there are other things that I think, well, sometime I want to do that during the week. So the weekly spread works really well like that, because for a personal planner, I don't need a timeline, unlike in my work planner where I like to have an hourly layout. For this one, I don't need it, so it's perfect for that. And also because work takes up a lot of my time and it's more complicated than my non-work stuff, it works well having a smaller planner for this. And I take this with me everywhere, so it's just very portable and it's easy to put into my bag. And then I also really like having the blank pages here because I like writing things down about like various aspects of my life that are not work related. So like basically all of my like planner information. So let's say here I've written down what A6 hobo covers I have. And then here we made a list for nice things that we wanted to do during Hanukkah. And so I really like having blank notes pages where I can make lists and also keep things for reference. So sometimes I might find a recipe, like if I'm looking on Instagram and there's a recipe, I'll write it down in here. And it's just like a catch-all for anything basically that I want. Also notes pages. And so I think that works really well because otherwise I would have to have a separate notebook for keeping things like that. And I wouldn't want to have to carry that around with me as well. So having a combination of planner and note pages is just perfect as a personal planner. So, like I'll make notes about videos. Let's say if I want to make a video, and I have thoughts about it, I can put that in here. Or wish lists, TV shows I want to watch, all kinds of different things. They all go in here, and then I know where everything is, and it's all in one place, and it's in the same place as I'm doing my personal planning as well. So that just works out really well, and I think that is why this has been so ideal for me as a personal planner and why I've stuck with it. For 2019, I've decided to go with the Weeks Mega because I realized that I wanted to have room for daily pages as well as weekly pages, and the standard Weeks doesn't have them. Sorry about the noise in the background. Those are just two of my dogs playing rather excitedly. So everything is fine. They're not fighting. Anyway, so the standard Weeks has worked really well, but the Weeks Mega I think is working even better because it gives me some extra space for daily pages. So that is my Hobonichi Weeks. Then my third planner is my Hobonichi Cousin, which I have in a Choose to Do holographic cover. And I'll leave that link down below. It's a really fantastic cover. So like the Weeks, the Cousin has been part of my lineup for several years now. This is actually my fourth week Cousin, and I'm going to be starting my fifth one in the spring. So I definitely know that this works for me as a work planner. I always get the spring Cousin, and that's just because it kind of works for me as like an inverse academic planner. So the year basically finishes for us around the end of March, the teaching year, and that's when this planner starts. So it works really well for that. Like the 5-year techo, I don't decorate this at all, and that's because I just want it to be purely functional. I just want to be able to get work stuff done and not think about decorating it or worrying how it looks. So I think that the reason that this works so well for me as a work planner is because I feel like it's ideally suited to the academic lifestyle. So I'm an academic, and the job involves various different components. There's teaching, there's administrative work, there's research, there's applying for grant proposals, there's like kind of management type stuff. Publications, peer reviewing, all kinds of different things which really need to be recorded. And I, for one, feel like I can't keep all of it just in my head. So I like to know that everything is written down. And a lot of people use their laptops for writing notes, or kind of keep things in different notebooks. But I feel like I like having everything in one place. And this is the only planner that I found that allows you to do that because it's got so many different layouts. So I use the yearly spreads, this yearly vertical spread here as an index to the daily pages. And in the daily pages, I keep all of my work-related notes. So anything to do with, let's say, meeting notes, project ideas, ideas for future research projects, notes on student work, any of that kind of stuff, I have enough room for it in the daily pages, which is fantastic because then whatever happens, even if it's in a subsequent year, I know that I can always go back and whatever it is, if I wrote it down, it will be in here. And that's really reassuring because instead of looking through different files on my laptop or, trying to find a notebook or, just kind of random pieces of paper, I know that everything is in here, and I have actually had to use that a few times. I've had to go back and look at my previous planners and find notes that I made on something, in the previous year or years before. So I find that really, really just indispensable, and it's always very reassuring to me because I feel like my job can be very overwhelming at times, and so it's really comforting to know that I have everything that I need in this one book. And I use the monthly spreads to work out how much time I'll have for research projects. So it's just like a kind of big bird's eye view of, let's say, how much time I'm going to have free when I'm going to be teaching, when I'm not teaching, how many weeks I can devote to a certain project, or break down the projects and say how many, let's say with this particular book that I'm writing, how many weeks will I have for this chapter and this chapter. So I find this a really useful planning tool. I don't use it for marking down day-to-day activities. I use it more just to work out how much time I'll have for particular projects. And then I've got the weekly spread with a timeline, and I find this timeline invaluable because I feel like I need to see my workday laid out, so I know when I've got teaching, when I've got a meeting, when I have free time that I can use for research, when I can answer emails. And I feel like somehow I can't function if I have it in, let's say if I had it in a week's. And this is actually something that I've thought about, because this planner is an A5 size. It's quite big and heavy, and if I'm taking it in with me wherever I go, basically, except if I'm working from home, then having this and this in my bag can be quite heavy. So sometimes I thought maybe I could switch to an A6 or to a week's, but I just really, really need to have the hourly timeline and need to have it laid out chronologically. And that's one of the reasons why I've stuck with this, is because I love the timeline. I love having 2 lines per hour and having it go from 5 in the morning until 4 in the morning. It's basically, it's a perfect 24-hour timeline, which I don't actually need most of the time. So usually I use these bottom hours from midnight onwards for notes, just for things that I need to do during the day at some point. But I really like having the possibility, because occasionally if I need to do something that's like, say if I'm in a different time zone, I need to use these, and I just find it really helpful having it there. So I think that this layout is perfect for me for work, because I can put things that I need to get done sometime during the week on the left hand side here, and then I can slot everything else in, and then I really know how my week looks. And then I've got the daily pages, which, as I said, I can use for anything work related. So just as an example, this is a current chapter that I'm working on in a book, and I've made a list of all of the different things that still need to be done in that chapter, and divided them between me and my colleague. So she's going to do half and I'm going to do the other half. And then I've got some notes that I've been taking as I've been working on that chapter. And I've of all of the different planners that I've seen and experimented with, this is the only one where I can have all of that stuff in one book, and I know that I have enough information for like literally whatever I want to write. So over the past 4 years, I've never run out of room in the daily spreads. I've always had some extra days that, even if let's say December is getting pretty filled up, because I don't always keep to the date. So occasionally if I have a very busy day at work, I can use a daily page just for daily notes if I run out of room in the weekly pages. But a lot of the time I'm just using it for project notes and meeting notes and other kinds of things. So I try to keep to the same month, but not necessarily to the same date within that month. And so occasionally if a month finishes, I might end up with some extra pages, and then I know that I can go back and use them later in the year. So it's just an excellent system for me, for my requirements at work. It is just the kind of the best one that I found, and I wouldn't be able to function without it. So I could never imagine switching to a different work planner, because this one is the only one that has everything that I need, and the fact that it's all in one book is really important. Before I started using the Cousin, I was using a Moleskine. First I used a Moleskine daily diary. That was 2014. So it had 1 page per day, and that was fine for to-dos, but I didn't really have anywhere to make those more detailed notes like the ones that I just showed you. And then so then I decided to add to that a Leuchtturm Jot book, which is just a notebook. So it's kind of more like the idea of the Jibun Techo together with the idea pad. And that was fine, but it was in 2 different books. And I just really like having everything for the year all in one book. So I think that's why the Hobonichi Cousin works for me as a work planner. And it really depends on what you're using it for, because I tried the Hobonichi Cousin as a home planner and that just didn't work at all. And it was because it was too big, it had too much space. And for a home planner, that was for noting things down like joint schedules, when James is working, when I'm working, when we have vet appointments, that kind of thing. And it was just way too much space, and a lot of it was just going unused, and we didn't really need the hourly timeline, and so it just totally didn't work for that at all. So I think that a lot of what makes a planner work for me is finding the right use for it. Because again, this week's is perfect for me as a personal planner, but I just know that it wouldn't work for me as a work planner, because as I've shown you, I really like having tons of note paper. I like having it be A5 size so that I feel like it's big enough that I can write a whole, like a sort of book proposal outline, or, an article outline, or notes from a whole meeting. I feel like having A5 is enough for that, whereas in the weeks, there's just no way that the notes pages would be enough, even with the week's mega, and I wouldn't have the hourly timeline, and it just wouldn't work at all. So I think having the right planner for the right purpose is really important for me, I guess, and the same planner could be perfect for one use and not for another. So this is my final planner that I used throughout all of 2018, and in fact I used it longer than that. I've used this since summer of 2017. It's an 18-month planner. This is the Erin Condren large hardbound planner, and I decided to try using this as a home planner because when it came out, I had never used an Erin Condren before because I don't really like spiral bound planners, so it had never appealed to me. But when she came out with the hardbound planners, I'm just a sucker for hardbound planners, and I thought I'd really like to try that, and I liked the look of the layout and the design. And I got the large one because I thought I wanted to be able to put a lot of stickers in it, and I thought that it would work better as a home planner because it could stay open on the table, and I liked the way that it doesn't have lines in the layout, and how it has the 3 boxes, which I thought would be useful for a home planner, and I'll show you why in a minute. So I have actually been using this for the entire 18 months, and it's full of stickers, as you'll see in a minute. It's just like kind of totally decorated, and it actually held up really well. So you can see here, that's what it looks like. It didn't get too chunky. It worked really well with the stickers. So if anyone is thinking about the Erin Condren hardbound planners and is worried that they won't work with stickers, I think that they are actually fine. So I decorated the cover, and I just labeled it here, Home Planner. These are all Happy Planner stickers. And this was Erin Condren's autograph that I got at PlannerCon Europe in October 2017, so that's very exciting. So I didn't use this for anything. I just used this to mark when each month that had gone by, I would put a Happy Planner flower sticker on it. And you can see we're almost at the end of December, so I'll be adding the final flower. It's very exciting because this, at the time, also felt like quite a commitment. So to put this in a bit of context and kind of explain why I'm so excited that this worked and that I used it for the whole of the 18 months, I've had a home planner since the beginning of 2015, when I actually bought my first ever Hobonichi Cousin, which was also my first ever Hobonichi. And the idea was that I would use that as a home planner because at the time I had started the year using a Moleskine weekly planner for my, what was at the time my only planner, a work/personal planner. So I bought the Cousin for a home planner, and as I mentioned earlier in the video, it did not work out. And so I decided to try it as a work planner, and that was where I just found my groove, and it was perfect. And then I tried a Hobonichi A6 as a home planner, and that didn't work either because it was a daily, it's this daily layout, and we didn't need a daily layout for the home planner. It was, again, it was too big for a home planner, and it was kind of hard to see what was going on in subsequent days, and somehow it just didn't seem to work. And then I tried a variety of different planners. I was using a ring bound planner with Lime Life inserts for a while, and that was okay because it had 6 different boxes per day, so you could make it into 6, you could give 6 different topics. And I quite liked that in terms of the layout, but I realized that I just didn't really like a ring bound planner. So I was experimenting a lot, and I came to the conclusion that my first love is indeed my greatest love, and that is bound planners, book bound planners. And as you can see, all of these planners that worked for me are all bound planners, and so I think that I've actually come to terms with the fact that I'm just a bound planner person, and that's it. Because I've tried all of the different binding types. So I tried for a home planner. The home planner was actually usually where I did most of my experimenting, because after I found planner piece with my work planner, my personal planner, and I knew that the Weeks and the Cousin were perfect for those purposes, the home planner was kind of the weak link in the system, and so I used it to experiment. So I had a Doki book disc agenda for a while, a happy planner, various types of ring bound planners, and TN. So a spiral bound planner I had for a while, and none of them stuck, and I didn't keep any of them, and they usually didn't last more than a few months. So that was like the one area where I felt like I really wasn't satisfied, and I kept changing the system because of that. So obviously, when I got this, I was, with that legacy, I was feeling a bit nervous and thinking, like, how long is this going to last? I don't want to abandon this halfway through the year. And I think that was because it was bound, and because it seemed like such of a commitment, it felt like, okay, I'm really going to do this properly. I don't want to have a bound planner that's kind of half used and then just gets neglected. I think because, although I have done that before with other bound planners, so it's not an infallible system, but I feel like if you have a spiral bound planner or disc bound planner or ring bound planner, you can just throw away the pages if you feel like it's not working, and it kind of doesn't feel like as much of a commitment. And actually that's what I would always do. I would think, I don't really like this, and I'll just tear out some pages. And then I kind of would be left with a sort of like half empty planner, and I wouldn't really be happy with that either. So I don't know, planner addict psychology is weird. But with this one, I kind of felt like I really wanted to make it work. And so I liked having this big spread in the beginning where you can list things like, it's open, you can use it for whatever you want, and it's got 12 boxes. And because this was an 18-month planner, I decided that I felt like it wouldn't really work using it for monthly things, although you could use it for like birthdays or something, but I decided instead to use it as a vision board, and that has worked out really, really well. And a lot of things on the vision board have actually come to pass, and that's really exciting. Pretty much all of them, in fact. So that was cool. And then the weekly spreads, I think, are really well suited for me as a home planner because they're divided into 3, and they don't have lines, which I like because it bugs me when a planner has lines and then I put stickers on it. I feel like the lines somehow clash with the stickers. And because with my home planner, my policy is that I just use stickers for everything. I don't write anything on the actual paper. And that's just somehow a convention that developed over the years of experimenting with these different home planners, that I really like this to be a totally decorated planner. So yeah, so I like the fact that you get 3 boxes per day and that you can use them for whatever you want. So I decided to use this for whereabouts. So like if one of us is at work, if one of us is at home. So you can see there I wrote that I was in university all day, James was in the market all day. And then this second box would be for things to do with our dogs. So if they need their flea medicine, or if they need to have a vet appointment booked, that kind of thing. And then for this one, I would use this final box for things like menu planning, which as you can see, I'm not very good at. If we had somebody coming to the flat, like this was a builder that was coming to fix something, or if there was something that we were planning, like if we were going to go to the cinema or something like that, like if there was an event, it would go in this bottom box. And that has worked really well throughout the planner because it's nice sort of having this dedicated space that you can put anything to do with the dogs will go here. And I also like the fact that it's big enough that I could really decorate it and use all of the big Happy Planner stickers, which I don't have room for in any of my other planners. So like, these big stickers could go in. And I like the fact that there's enough room that I could have just like kind of a lot of fun with the layout, because this was really sort of my main decorative outlet, I guess, and I really like decorating with stickers. I did put stickers in my weeks this year as well, but as you can see, these were sort of much more, like kind of just a bit more minimal decorative, whereas this is like the heart of the planner is stickers. So I like the fact that it's big enough for that. The Erin Condren boxes are not exactly the same size as the Happy Planner boxes, so I couldn't get them to fit exactly in, but I sort of worked around that and I didn't mind it. So basically, I just used this sort of as and when it was needed, and you can see that some weeks that were particularly busy or that I was away, I really didn't write much in here. So I went to Copenhagen for a research trip here, and so I just put in the details of that so that James would know basically that I was away. And a lot of this is actually for him to consult because we leave it out on our table, and he said that he likes knowing when I'm away and how late I'm going to be out for and stuff like that. But then I also put fun things in it, like my Hobo order was arriving there. So in a way, this planner has actually also ended up as a memory keeper because it's decorated and so it's fun to look at. And so I'm definitely going to keep this when the year is over and put it with my other archive planners. And then I'll get to go back and reminisce, and it has some things that are recorded in it that, I would really like to be able to look over again. Like, for example, here, so we took in a foster dog in June, and on the 3rd of August, we officially decided to adopt her. And so I put that in to commemorate it. And, it's really nice having that. So I don't do any specific memory keeping as such, except for my 5-year techo, which, as you've seen, is, it's quite basic. So it's not really like kind of visually that exciting to look at. But in this planner, I sort of do it in a more decorative way. But usually I use it as a planner, so for things that haven't happened yet, but occasionally it sort of serves this dual function. And I think often the plans end up being memories, because if you sort of plan something and then later you go back and look at it and it has become a memory. So like, for example, here I went to a conference on multilingual heavy metal music and I commemorated it there. So it was a plan at the time, but looking back on it, it's a memory. And then here it was Yom Kippur, so it's the same sort of thing. Or, if we went to the cinema or to Wagamama or something like that. So I think that was why this planner worked, was because the layout was just suited for what I needed it for. And so that has been it's worked really, really well. And I haven't wanted to switch for the whole of the 18 months. Obviously, I've been tempted by like new beautiful planners, but I've always known that this is my home planner and I'm going to stick with it until it is finished. And the only thing that hasn't really worked, that I haven't quite known what to do with, is the monthly spreads, because I put everything in the weekly spreads and I feel like the monthly spreads were a bit redundant for me because we didn't need that level of detail in the home planner. So we didn't need to look at things in two different ways. When I first got it, I experimented with using the monthly spread and as a kind of microcosm of everything that was going on in the month, and so I put in all of the different plans, and then I kind of realized that we actually weren't checking it and that it was a bit redundant and that there was no need to have this. So then I started using it in different ways. Like, first I tried planning when I was like kind of writing down when I was going to be in university, or then when something particularly important was happening, like Tails, our dog's birthday, and not for much else. But even then we never checked it. So then I would just put in occasionally a big event and kind of put decoration in the rest of it. At one point I was thinking maybe I would use this as a master checklist for the month of things that we needed to get done around the flat. But as you can see, that didn't really happen either, because there are these weekly checklists and we were using those more often than not. And then it kind of didn't, even they didn't get used sometimes. So it's now got to the end of the year. This is the very last week. And there are only a few days left, and then I'll switch into my new home planner, which is something completely different. So I love this Erin Condren, but I'm now going to try something new, which I will show you in my next video. And so I used the last week, which is already all January, except for the first day, just as a kind of little closing spread. just to commemorate how much I've enjoyed this planner. So it's really, really worked well as a home planner. And again, I think that's because it suited the particular requirements that I had for a home planner. And because I'd used so many home planners before, probably like at least, let's say 7 home planners over the past few years, it was a pleasant surprise that this one actually stuck and that I used it for the whole of the 18 months, you know, and didn't really get sick of it. The only other part of it that I didn't use was the notes pages, and that's just because having so many other planners, I didn't really need them for anything. This is really just a, you know, quite plain, very basic overview of what the week looks like so that, you know, we both know what's going on. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, and I think that it was the design and the size and the fact that it was bound, like all of those things I think just combined to somehow, you know, make it work and make me not want to give up on it over the 18 months. So there you have it, the 4 planners that worked for me in 2018. These are the 4 planners that I used consistently throughout the entire year. I actually started 2018 with a much bigger stack of planners, and then I pretty soon, I think within a couple of months, whittled it down to these 4, and they were the ones that just, you know, kept with me throughout the entire year, as all of the others sort of fell by the wayside. So I've really enjoyed using these 4 over the year. These 2 are going to continue with me into 2019. This one, obviously, because it's a 5-year techo, and this one because it's the spring cousin, and so I won't be getting my new one until March. And then these 2 are going on the archive shelf, and they will be replaced by equivalents. So for the weeks, I'm already using my new 2019 weeks, which I will show you a bit more in the next video. And something completely different will be replacing the Erin Condren. So the mystery planner will be revealed in my next video, which I will make within the next week. So I hope you enjoyed this. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!